someone who's truly found his voice and is such a pioneer in the world of dance and crump. I just think it's amazing when people learn how to be leaders and how to mentor, and he is someone that does that very well. He's found a brand, and as he grows and as he evolves, it's just growing with him. So thank you so much for being here. I'm excited to hear about your journey.
Thanks for having
Yeah.
me. Thanks for having me, man. It's a pleasure.
So let's start from the early ages. Like, I know you're good at telling stories. When you were younger, what are some of the things in your life that really impacted who you are now, whether it was like influences from family or events that had happened that were significant?
Well, I think the main thing that firstly that I got to give credit is my environment as far as my household. Like my parents, very stable household. Actually, it was fun to be. I have three older brothers. My grandma used to live with us, and both of my parents, they run a beauty salon also together, a barbershop slash a beauty salon for over 30 years. So I always seen my parents always be together, go to work together, come back home together, and having like a grandmother that was there 24/7 to take care of the children, and having three older brothers, I felt like I was in a very stable and safe environment growing up. So that makes a huge difference. I believe that when you grow up in a stable home, it definitely has an impact on the opportunities that you could develop for yourself and the resources that you have. So I would say that my main influences are the main people that were there with me the whole time. When I would wake up and see my father, my mother, and them as entrepreneurs, definitely influenced me to really wanting to have my own business. Seeing them having their own schedule and running their own things, that is where I got my whole entrepreneur side. And then obviously sports. My father was very heavy on sports. He always wanted us to do something. He never really wanted us to sit home and do nothing. And I think that being an active child, playing soccer, playing American football, basketball, really had an impact on me growing up. I've developed a lot of the skills that I have today comes from my athletic background, and that would be like early age until the age of 15. Now, when it comes to dance and as an artist, I was a rapper before being a dancer. Even though I always loved to dance just for fun, rapping was like hip hop was my first love. So when I was around the age of 11, I was already writing my own lyrics, listening to rap music, trying to learn some of the songs from my favorite artists and all that. So hip hop had a huge influence on me, and being a rapper really helped me to to develop this artistic side of me. And that was one of the things that really made a huge difference. But when it comes to dance, I was always influenced by Michael Jackson, MC Hammer, Chris Brown, and Omarion. Those were like my four main people that I would watch, and I would try to duplicate their moves. Literally, they were like my early dance influences. Like before Crump came out around 2005, as far as like the movie Rise, Crump was created in early 2000, but 2005 is where I discovered Crump. So before Crump, I was always dancing just for fun. And even when I was doing like rap performances at school, I always had this little segment where I would just drop the mic and just do it. So even though I was a rapper, there was always like a dancing part aspect that I would, throw in there as an entertainer, as a performer. So that it all made sense. It all made sense to me. And so I would say like early influences, definitely my parents, my brothers and close friends, sports, football, soccer, and basketball. And then after that, pop artists such as Omarion, Chris Brown, Michael Jackson, and MC Hammer. And hip hop, obviously. A lot of rappers that really influenced the way that I write today and that I make my music.
That's awesome. I think it's neat. I know of you that you're very clear and strong in who you are. It makes sense how you say you had a really stable environment. Sometimes it takes people a while to figure out their identity a bit. You had it at a younger age from the sounds of things.
Mhm.
What were some of the big resistance things in your life that kind of challenged you?
School was one of the biggest challenges because school, when I reached eighth grade, is when I really started to feel that I could disconnection with the educational system. and knowing what I wanted to be, like, what my dreams were. There was nothing in school that was really relatable, like nothing that spoke to me when I was out there. You want to become an artist, you want to become a rapper, you want to tour the world, you want to, produce, drop an album, and there's nothing in school that really spoke to me besides sports. So the older I got, when I graduated from high school, almost didn't make it. But even when I reached college, it was super hard for me. So it was always this little pressure that I was getting, obviously from my parents, to excel in school and try to find something like a plan B. If you don't make it with your super crump or music thing, what are you gonna do? And there always this fear that was pumped into my head. Also considering that I was the only artist in the family. Not any not, my brothers were not into music or dance or whatever. My brother Benji was an athlete, good, baseball player and all that. And my brother Rodney was more like a geek in electronics and all of that. So to be like this little outcast of I want to do this was super hard, because even my close friends were telling me like, yo, you ain't gonna do this all your whole life. What if it doesn't work? There was always this what if that was being put in my face every single time that I was chasing my dream. So I think that was one of the main obstacles that I faced. Another one would be obviously the lack of stability when you're an artist, and especially when you start a community. Because remember, there was no Crump in Montreal and in Canada before me and Otis Hopstead started. So we pioneered a movement throughout the whole country back in 2005, us and some other folks. So to be like a pioneer of something and starting something from scratch is already a challenge. And especially with a dance style that nobody knew nothing about. Like people were like, what the hell is this? So man, I've faced so many challenges. As I could name a lot of things, but I think that the basic pressure of being an artist and being told that, hey, there is no future in that. There is no money in there. There's no stability in there. What are you going to do if that doesn't work? And to push a style in itself that is brand new and that nobody knows about, and that you have to start from scratch, from ground up. Those were already two major challenges that I had to face early.
Yeah. So for you, like, how did you push against that? And like, what kind of mindsets did you have to do?
To be around like-minded people that were old. This is one thing that I'm really thankful for, is the fact that I always had older people, older heads that were as passionate or more passionate than me, that took me under their wing. When I started Crump in 2005, I started learning with Otis Hobson. He was like the first crumper in Canada. But when I was 19, he was already 35. You know what I'm saying? He was already 35 years old. So he was a mature dancer that had the chance to like travel around the world and live some crazy experiences dancing. Like he had something to offer that nobody had. So I had the privilege to learn from him. And when it comes to the music side, I have my big homie Peasy, he's like my big bro, who's also, he was older than me. He happened to go to the same school as my brother, and he was super dedicated and passionate about music, and he saw my talent as a rapper, and he was like, yo, this kid has a lot of talent, he's got a lot of skills. So right when I was like around 14 years old, I already had access to studio time, and I was already like working on songs and all of that, being featured on his album and his different projects. So it's like to have that type of environment or of mentorship around you, it helps you overcome those fears or overcome those doubts that you have, that people keep putting inside of your head, that yo, you can't be doing this because it ain't gonna bring you nothing. But when you have the right people around you that are able to mentor you, it helps a lot. I don't think that I would have been able to do it on my own, because there's plenty of times where I went back to university. I studied kinesiology in university. There's times where I went and got a regular job and all these things. But I always had people around me that were like-minded and that were as hungry, and that helps a lot.
That's actually such a good point. And I think anybody that's watching that is trying to break free or trying to get out of that space of being worried about what other people think, is it's just really important who you surround yourself with, for sure. I
Yes.
know that's big for you. I know that you mentor, but how does that look now in your journey that you get to do it yourself?
The mentorship aspect is very gratifying. It's one of the things that keeps me going. Obviously, you want to have success. You want to be like I got to travel and go to places that I never thought that I would ever go. When you start something on the streets in '05, you're 19, you start dancing. You don't know where that thing is going to take you, but you know that you like it. And then 15 years later, you find yourself in like Russia, Switzerland, you're being hired in London to perform and stuff like that. And then you do all these things are crazy. And I never thought that these things would happen. But I'm always fascinated with the sensation that I have when I actually take somebody and bring them up. You know what I'm saying? Show them how to tap within through Crump, show them how to tap within through anything that they want to do in life, but to use Crump as a medium to make them excel in other aspects of their lives or simply inside of Crump. And I think that the reason why I'm so like heavy on teaching and mentorship is because I understand the value of education. I see what it did for me. So it's important for me to identify the benefits that it had on me and the impact that it had on me, but also to be able to give it back. And I always think from a perspective where it's not like I'm giving so much because I expect something in return, but I also understand that it's an investment. If I invest so much in Crump and teaching kids and the mentorship aspect, really bringing people up, I understand that these are the same people that are going to continue to make the culture move forward. You know what I'm saying? Because I can't do it on my own. I have to. You need to have manpower to do this. There needs to be more people that are involved in it, are pushing in the same direction. And in order for it to move forward in a healthy way, then everybody needs to be equipped to do
Hmm.
that. So if I'm in a position to give you the tools to be better at this or to understand how to lead yourself and lead others, then I need to do that because anyway, at the end of the day, it's going to come back to us. It's going to come back to the community, and indirectly, I'm going to benefit from that in the long run. So I think that the long term vision of things, the long term perspective, is what helps me keep the faith that this is important because you're a great you you're great by creating other great minds. If you're great yourself and you keep all your greatness for you, then you're not doing anything. If you're a
Hmm.
great leader but you're not able to create other great leaders, then you ain't doing nothing. You know what I'm saying? So that's the way that I see it. So that's what keeps me motivated, right? It all comes back to us. It comes back to me to a certain extent. And there's just only positivity that comes out of that. So that's why I understand the impact it had on me, and I want to give that back. That's the whole purpose.
That's amazing. And especially in the world we live in today where it's all about you and it's so easy to be so selfish and to not think about other people. And it's funny how it feels like by keeping all the knowledge in or by doing everything for yourself, you're going to get ahead. But I think exactly what you're saying when people choose to serve and to push other people up, like in turn, I think you do grow so much
Yeah,
yourself and you like it's the
definitely.
opposite.
And you mentioned the podcast earlier where I talk about mentorship and all that. And I said, being a mentor and a leader is being a servant. That's my philosophy. And I'm not saying this as if it's gold and it's all set. And I don't want you to take this as gospel. But at the end of the day, I feel like that's what has helped me the most. And that's where I felt like the progression and the impact on the community was at its biggest is when I realized that I'm not leading because I am the all-knowing crumper that knows everything and that never my word can never be refuted. It's not that. It's just that I am at the service of a community and I feel like I have the tools to help them. When you help somebody, you're serving someone. So I think it's like more of that service mentality, like a servant mentality, opposed to somebody that's going to impose their knowledge or their understanding of whatever they think life is or what needs to be done in order for things to move forward. This is one of the things that I talked about in my podcast. The whole servant mentality, I think, helps a lot. It's humbling and it helps you really get to the same level as people and be able to listen to what's going on around you, and you're able to give a better response when you take time to listen. So yeah, that's important to me.
It's cool though too when you see the parallel of like when you get that stuff individually and then you go try and put your brand out there and you try and whether it's a personal brand or you're trying to build your brand into a business, if you understand those concepts of who are you trying to serve, who are you trying to help, what do they actually need, instead of looking at the wrong things. I think those two things, like what you do in your own personal life will overflow into your business life too.
Yeah,
And that's what I think creates really strong brands that leave a legacy.
definitely.
So for you, with because you have a really strong brand, I think people know who you are in your field and what you do. What is the kind of feelings that you want to leave people with? What's important to you?
There's a lot of things that are important, and I think that question it changes with time because you evolve as a person, as a human being, as an artist. I think that right now, with everything that's going on, it will always be truth. Truth will always be the main thing that I'm worried about, that I seek, that I'm trying to embody also. I think that one of the reasons why people can to a dancer, relate to the work, is they find some sort of authenticity in what the person is doing, some sort of realness. That realness, we're also about keeping it real and being real and all that. And to me, it's all linked to the truth aspect. What do I mean by that? Is I stepped in the game doing the things that I want to do because of what I believe in my personal life and what I believe Crump could do, what the dance stands for, where how it could help people, and how it could really allow you to express yourself in one of the purest and most like a raw way, in a raw sense. And all these things for me are, I believe in those things. They are true to me. They're truths. So it's like when you have that type of conviction in your art form and you keep that, I think that it transcends and that people are feeling that. When you're mentoring somebody and you really have a real commitment, that person feels like that relationship that you're having with them is real. It's not something fake. It's something that is true. Like it's true love that you have somebody. It's true passion. This thing about being honest with yourself, being true to yourself, and understanding that commitment that you have is so important. And when people feel that you're fully committed to something, they receive it differently, and it's something that they can sense. So as an artist, when I perform on stage, when I give a class, when I talk, even like me talking to you right now, it's, yo, I don't know who's gonna watch this. You know what I'm saying? I want them to be like, all right, this guy was talking some stuff that resonates with me,
Mm-hmm.
but it has to be real. It's even as a performer, like a lot of times you put on a show and you want to bring this facade. We're in an era where we need to bring back truth and authenticity and realness, because social media and this cyber world and this distance that we have now is even crazier. We're
Mm-hmm.
so far apart. Everybody's isolated. We have less human contact and all that. And I think that people are fiending for like this true connection with people. And that truth is something that is very hard for me to explain. But it's always like this journey of trying to get there. So in everything that I do, man, I'm trying to be as truthful as possible and be real, say the truth, be true to myself, be committed to my audience, be committed to the people that I'm working with. And
Mm-hmm.
that I feel makes a huge difference. Like when people like interact with you, they sense that something is happening, that something is real, and they want to be around that energy. I think that would be a thing that is always in the back of my mind.
Yeah, that's so good. I was having that conversation with someone recently. It's just so easy to just be an autopilot
Yeah.
and just go through the motions and forget that there's real conversations and real people. And I think right now with social media, like you said, it's so easy to get caught up in all of this materialistic, not authentic material that's out there. And when you see people online even that are authentic, it pulls you in because there's so much of the opposite. So I definitely see that in you and in your brand and what you stand for. So you're doing it. So that's a good thing.
Man, it's not an easy thing. Sometimes you got to catch yourself, like you got to G check yourself. And it's always the concept of the mirror. If you were like operating in this world and you don't take the time for like introspect and to put that mirror in front of your face and be like, hey, bro, yeah, I think you need to chill. Because sometimes as a leader, because people see you as the authority, they're not going to tell you when you mess up. They're not going to tell you when you're being foul. And then sometimes you need to have people around you that are able to give you that reality check, but also you can't always count on people. You need to be honest with yourself. So even that truth, that true relationship, that real relationship needs to be with yourself. And that is something that
That's it.
translates to your other relationships with other people. So if you can't be true to yourself, how are you gonna be true with others? It makes no sense. So it all starts from within. So yeah, it's important to me.
And that's the message that I hope everybody gets, that you have to take the time to get to know who you are and what's your voice and what's authentic. Because if you don't know what that is, you can't even build a brand. You can't be a brand because it's not going to be consistent and it's not going to be real. And so it may work for a month, but
Yeah,
that's it.
yes, definitely.
So honestly, thank you. There was so much wisdom and insight, which I knew you would bring. And I hope that people just heard that part of service and authenticity. And like for you, I just see just commitment and you're passionate about what you do, which I think you need to do that in order to have a good brand. So thank you
Definitely
so
thank
much.
you. And yeah, man, these are all things that we hear a lot. We hear there's I don't think that I've said anything that is new. Like we hear these things a lot, but we need to be reminded that these things are important. So if you want to build your brand, the brand is in your image basically, and who are you. So if you're putting something out there that resembles you and that is, you're going to have a lot more attachment to it, and you're just going to care about it a little bit more because you feel like there's a part of you in there. But if you're just trying to create this idealistic brand out there persona that you're not connected to, it's going to be hard for you to kind of put the same energy in there. And I'm still working on that. I'm not talking as if there's still a lot of work to do for 7starr to take the level or reach the heights that I believe it could reach. And we're still working on it.
Where can people find you if they would like to check out your stuff?
Yo, so 7starr.com, www.7starr.com. So that's number 7, STARR.com. So that's my official website. There's going to be a lot of things happening there. I'm going to be focusing a little bit more on it. I'm going to have definitely my YouTube channel. If you type 7starr on YouTube, bringing back the podcast. I'm also going to have like online tutorials for beginners, for those who want to learn Crump. So there's going to be tutorials in French and English. I'm going to be doing both because your boy is trilingual and stuff. I'm gonna be like, I want to put out more free content out there. There's gonna be like snippets, like small clips of me like explaining basic things about Crump. So for all the beginners out there who are scared to, well, obviously we can't take classes now, but if you don't know where to look to and all of that, I'm definitely gonna be breaking it down in a way for you to do is Crump for Dummies. You use that, but hey, everybody uses it, so I'm gonna use it. So there's gonna be that coming up. Definitely working on my new album. I was gonna my first album actually, and I'm releasing it hopefully end of January, beginning of February. So all of that information is gonna be on 7starr.com. And if you're ever like interested in following me on social media, all of that information is also available on my main page on 7starr.com, whether it's Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and whatever else it is.
Whatever else comes up next, all these social media. Thank you. You guys need to go find him and take some classes, get some insight, listen to the podcast. You won't regret it.
Yes.
Thank you.